So let me. Fuck it. We'll just get stuck into this. All right. So here we go. For those people who haven't watched my other videos, go to my YouTube page, check it out. I've done a couple of things talking about. I believe it's Cobble and Dust 2. Now these are basics. Oh, I was gonna say basically. These are just basics of the maps. Okay, so these are important things, important bits of information, ways that you can approach the game, general understandings, general ideas on how to approach it. So just keeping in mind a bit of a disclaimer: these opinions or these ways to play the game, it's not perfect. There's not one way to approach the game, but this is my understanding, and this is the way that I think the game should be approached, right? Or this is how I think this map specifically, or this is how I think this name place should be called, or how this execute should go, or how you can fake, or this, that, and the other, right? So that's the whole point of this, is to give people a basic understanding of the maps, to give them an idea of what to potentially practice within their teams, or what to look at. So to get started, the first thing I normally do is fly around the map and name the spots. Now you may have names in your teams, right, that you call things, which is fine, as long as all of the members in the team know the names, right? So this is for very basic teams. This is for very this is for basics for teams, and this is for teams, you know, who may be like at a semi-pro or even a professional level. I think like you should be doing this stuff on a regular basis, just to rehash, just to make sure that everything is the same with your team. Everybody's calling things the same, everybody's on the same page, right? So let's just fly around and we'll quickly name some stuff as we go. So this would be like considered T mid or T warehouse, this section of the map here. Obviously that was T spawn. I feel like we don't really need too much to call that T spawn. You guys should know that. We'll head over towards B. So this room here, you can call it like B connector or useless. So what I'm saying, when I give you multiple names, it's better off, or whatever you call it, you could call it fucking shithole. I don't care. I've talked about this multiple times. Just name it whatever is easiest for you guys, so you all know, right? Make it very basic. So this is, I like to call this useless or B connector, right? Obviously you come over here and you're in the B storage section of the map. You have sunroom, right? This is obviously sunroom. This is why it's called sunroom. The sun. Now they've added this, which helps with it being called sunroom. Alright, now you need to get in the particulars. I've gone over many times so far when I've done these of why you should call certain spots and why you shouldn't call other spots. Like, you don't need a name for this spot. It's very rare. And people are going to see this guy and they're going to kill him. So you don't need a name for that spot. But this spot, for example, you should probably name that spot. And this spot, for example, you should probably name it. But you don't need a name for like this spot, right? So you need to name your parts on the map so that it's clear, concise, and it needs to be something which always happens, or happens quite regularly. So as we're going into B, Crims always used to play this box, right? They always used to, Fnatic used to throw this smoke, and he used to play like on the box or behind the box. So we called this spot here Crims. This was called Crims. Alright, now as you're coming in, there's obviously, you know, B storage, and you're coming into the B site. So I call this B main. So the back here is what I'd call B storage. Then I call this B main. Then obviously B. This spot here is called Snacks. The reason that we would call it Snacks is because he would have played it a lot, and that's why we named it when we were in Renegade/Fox Eminol. So this one was called Snacks. Now this one here, because it was quite an obscure spot, a lot of people were watching Vent at the time when we were playing this and when we named it, we called this spot Pod. Now, the reason we called it Pod, I don't know. We just called it Pod. That's all we did, right? So obviously you're in checkers right now, so you could just call it under Vent. You don't need to call it Pod. But it's a specific spot. So if you come down, you say it's under Vent, you're checking here, right? But so we named this one, but you don't have to. Obviously we have checkers. We got the Vent. Now over here, we call this Drip. Pretty easy. We see why we called it Drip. It's fucking dripping, right? Nice and easy. So now as we're entering the site, we've got, obviously I call that Snacks. This is called Blue or Tarp. Obvious reasons why it's called Blue or Tarp. It helps, you know, it also helps to be able to call that spot. It's a spot that quite a lot of people play. It's good for while you're retaking. Very important. Alright, so then you've got like Heaven, or up top, or whatever you want to call it. And then you can say he's out on the Heaven railing, you know, he's out Heaven. There's lots of things. Hell or CT, you know, people call this CT even though it's not really. I think a better name that I've heard recently would be Tree. So Tree is a good name for it because it's that fucking section. Yeah. So as we go into the site, this map always, like the way that the boxes are laid out, sometimes reminds me of Inferno. So what we used to call this Pit. I don't know what they call it now, but we call this Pit. This one here is Headshot. Obviously this is Headshot. It's a Headshot line. That's why it's called Headshot. We called this one the default boxes. right? This is where people used to plant. This was the default plant. That one was single, and this one was triple. And this is called the pod plant, you know, because it's for that spot over there that we were talking about before. So we'd call this the pod plant. You can call it whatever the fuck you want. So single, default boxes, or target. Target's a good one that I hear people use, and triple. And then we call this one here Huck. Now the reason is because it's like Inferno, you know, like Inferno when you'd come straight in, you'd come into the B site, and there's this one. I think people call it oranges or something. So the B site's pretty simple. We're flying out of the B site. Obviously tree, we called it. You can call that fucking scaffolding, whatever the fuck you want. I think it's pretty rare that people are playing there. If you say tree, it's very similar. You don't really need to name those boxes. Very rare. We called this before. We called that like heaven. Okay, so now this is obviously city spawn. You guys don't need too much fucking direction there. Now that we're going to go towards middle. So this is CityCon or Z or connector, whatever you want to call it. CityCon. Nice and easy. Sandbag. White box, just people call it sugar cube, highway box, fucking coil, whatever you want to fucking coil box, whatever you want to call it. You know, lots of names for that cunt. Obviously vent again. Alright, vent, nice and easy. Call this spot here pipe, pretty easy to see why I call that pipe. That's obviously the boost, is up on the boost. T red crate or just red, like, you know, it's all relative to where you're calling. Left side, T warehouse, left side, T mid, simple. It's all where you're calling. If he's there, he's left side, T mid, nade him. Fucking simple. Communication, nice and easy. Alright, we'll go up towards A. This is highway, speedway, slope, whatever the fuck you want to call it, you can call it. Quickly go back this way. Truck, ute, whatever you want to fucking call it. That's this cunt right here. E-box, electrical, same deal. Alrighty, catwalk. Catwalk, cool, good one, sick one. Forklift. Now, toxic. Or at the ladder. When people were playing around here, like we'd say like, oh, he's on monkey bars, right? I don't know why, because we're probably retarded. This is what we'd call, if you planted here, it was called a tarp plant. Obviously there's a tarp there, that's why. Single box, default, quad, fence, the boost, he's on the boost, toxic boost, barrel boost, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't give a fuck. Alrighty, A main. Now we didn't have a name for that. I don't think you need one. Same deal, referencing which side. Lockers, obviously lockers. I guess this would just be the A main box, right? So like, for me, if I was a CT and I came and I did like the jump pick at the start of the round, right? You know, you see if anyone's there, you just do the quick little, like my movement's terrible. But you come to the jump pick like Azza used to do. I'm not very good, he's very good. And then he could call. So like, if you're using like his deep A main, he's all the way back here. Like, this would be deep A main, right? So you got to think about the language you use while communicating. That's just important. And then squeaky door. Obviously, it's a squeaky door. Nice and easy. Nothing too hard right now, okay? So like, this is where people would set up the smokes. So if you wanted to say like, oh, they're setting up the smokes for an A execute, people should know that it's from here, right? You don't necessarily need a name for all this shit. Obviously, that's a truck, or fucking lorry if you're from the UK and you're retarded, or whatever you want to call it. That's obviously the boost, okay? So we've gone over the basics of the map. We've gone over it quite quickly, quite swiftly, quite easily. Now we want to talk about. We'll talk about the T side default, because I think the CT side, the way that you can approach it is actually a lot looser. So I think we went over everything. Everything went pretty smoothly right there. Now let's talk about the T side default. So most teams on a T side default will have one player watching the B push. Right? You can be like up close, you can be like picking, you can be sunroom, you can be watching it from useless, you can be watching it from all the way back here, you can be watching it from on the fucking sign like a fucking spawn camping cunt with an AWP because you like getting lots of kills and you like having a really good KD ratio. You can be watching it from here. You can watch it from anywhere, right? But your job, there will normally be one guy whose job it is to watch the B push, call off the utility, do whatever. So in a basic default where you're just calling out utility, your job isn't to really engage. Your job is just to fucking watch and listen for what's going on at that site. So if you're the B guy and you go, okay, yeah, one smoke, they're naded, 2 pieces of utility used. Oh, they re-smoked. 2 smokes gone at B. Fantastic. Your in-game leader now knows he can calculate a plan. He's starting to think, Fantastic. You're doing your job. So when you do a default, that's a huge part, is relaying important information. Don't be there spamming the mic going, oh, they used a smoke. I think they're pushing the smoke. I think they stacked B. I think there's 147 cunts in the B site. I don't want to hear that. I'm an in-game leader. I want to hear smoke B. Molotov use B. They broke the vent. Oh, they could be in the vent. Fantastic. Thank you for giving that information, B player. Don't be a fucking cunt. Anyway, so guy watching B. Okay, you normally have a player watching mid. You know, watching the mid push, maybe doing a little bit of spammy spam, maybe getting boosted up on this cunt. He's watching this shit. Maybe he's dropping down on this side. He's doing some shit. Anyway, you got one guy spotting mid. You got another cunt, usually watching the boost. Now, he doesn't always have to watch the boost from like back here. He can be watching it from anywhere. He can also be like a caretaker. He can be the A-man helper and come and check the boost from time to time. Dangerous way to do it. So many angles to check, but you can do it that way. So most people normally have like the 1B, the 1 middle, then sometimes the one watching the boost, but usually 2 A-main. So you get one guy A-main with his back turned here so he can't get flashed. The other guy tends to be an AWPer watching this. Because lots of teams like to flash retake A-main. So that's just a general default, and then obviously you have the squeaky guy. You know, he comes, he does his fucking little pop flashy thing, comes up, comes here, he fucking spams through. You know, this is the cool dude job. If you're a cool dude, you should do the squeaky job. If you're a bitch like me, you do the mid job. I'm a bitch. I sit there and I do nothing, and then I dictate the thing. But it's all very important to give information, right? So like, if they smoke like this and you're the A main player, make sure you say that. Like, if you're the mid player and they smoke and Molotov, say that. You need to relay that information. Very important part of a default right now, okay? So this right here is what I've just told you right now is a very basic default. And the idea behind this default is to get information. You listen, you wait, you hold your territory. If they push, you make the frag or you force them back. You call out the utility to your in-game leader. Your in-game leader can make a decision. Simple, right? Really easy. There's nothing. You're not forcing a frag. You're not doing anything. You're not setting the pace. You're not doing anything like that, right? You're literally just doing a default hold, and you're waiting, and then you're making a late round. Nice and easy way. Okay, so what can you do off of a default? You can do fucking anything, cunts. You can do anything. Now let's assume that your mid player is called a lot of shit mid, right? So he's called like fucking smoke. He's called like a Molotov. He's called like a fucking HE. That molly was really bad anyway. You know, he's called a heap of shit. He's called like the vent's broken. You know, I heard a guy up close. This, that, and the other. And then it's like, oh, they've re-smoked mid. Okay, what can you assume? You can assume that they are either playing a heavy mid setup or they are playing a heavy mid setup either passively or aggressively. So you can have multiple ways to take mid back off them, right? You can set up a close mid wall retake. So if you want to clear out only close, you don't want to worry about any of these cunts back here. You just want to clear out close, and then you maybe want to go into a B split. You can do the wall smokes mid. We all know the wall smokes mid. You fucks all know this shit, right? You can do it multiple different ways. There's 175 different ways to do these fucking smokes. You just do the wall smokes mid. Alright. You can also land a cunt up here if you really want. If I'm doing those two smokes, you should probably also combo it with a con smoke so that you can get players up on the boost. Those smokes aren't perfect. They're quite bad actually. But you guys know the mid wall smokes. You just cut off that part of the map. You have someone mollying the vent. You have someone mollying pipe. You do a couple of simple flashes, you get some dudes over the boost, you clear out close mid. You can also get a guy mollying sandbags, so the guy coming up on the boost can not have to worry about sandbag, he can just clear close. You clear it all. So let's say right now, we're doing a strat. This is our strat. We're doing a close mid retake. I'll see if I can remember this one. Was it like this? I feel like that's really wrong. Like that just seems like super, yeah, that's super wrong. That's super retarded. I got a case of the retardation. Anyway, let's do this as a set strat. Okay, so fuck, I suck balls. Anyway, you've got your useless player or your B aggressive player. He was using his utility. So this is another good thing to do, just so you guys know. You probably see it a lot. Your B defaulter, a cool thing we do is throw the smoke that goes there and the Molotov that lands here, because it forces back any aggression and it also forces utility out of B players. But we'll come back to that later. So let's say we've done that, and this guy doesn't have much utility left. So he's now your entry fragger onto mid. He's come back, we're doing a close mid take, right? We're doing a close mid take, so he's maybe getting ready to pop flash for himself, or he's ready just to run out. He's maybe just come to this point, he's watching for once that gets Molotovs, right? We've got two players, so you've got your mid caretaker, he's like, alright, let's come back, let's set this up. You've got two guys from A main, and you got your squeaky player. So you'd probably get your squeaky player to Molotov the vent. Alright, so you get your squeaky player, he's come back from squeaky, he's ready to molly the vent. You get your two A main players, they've come back. One's going to get boosted up, right, and he's going to be waiting. And you're going to have two guys ready to throw shit into mid. So you're going to have the crisscross mid-wall smokes go off, so bang, bang. So your mid caretaker and one of the A main guys are throwing that. Much better than what I've done there, guys, obviously. Your guy on the boost, he can throw this Molotov. Your guy over there at squeaky can throw the vent Molotov. You can get some. This guy here is also in a good place to throw like a close flash that should flash everything. If you do it better than what I've just done, I'm demonstrating very poorly, but you guys can work at the particulars. I'm just giving you the fucking basis. Okay, get a close smoke. You get the guys who threw these ones here to come launch out, get mid control. You've got the mid control. Sweet. Fantastic. Right. What are people complaining about? Where there's a guy complaining about something. Don't you think you're overdoing the Aussie a bit? Well, it's about like putting on a persona when you stream, right, dude? So like streaming, most people aren't themselves. Like if you think Steel is like genuinely a rager who sits there and just fucking tears people a new one in his real day-to-day life, you're a fucking moron. The idea behind streaming is it's almost like a live TV show. So actual me is nowhere near as fun as what I am here, like swearing and having a great time. Anyway, it's all about, you know, trying to make a persona and trying to make money from streaming, which I'm having a very bad time doing. So maybe I should change my persona. Maybe you're right. Anyway, that's a close mid smoke like retake, or a close mid retake, or close mid take. It's a good way to do that. There's another way that you can do it. So you'd call this one like a late round mid take. Same kind of thing, same kind of people. You set it up the same way. You'd boost the player up again, maybe even 2 this time. Now let's see if surely I remember this one. I think you can do a con smoke from here. So you'd want the vent Molotov and you'd want the pipe Molotov again. You'd have a con Molotov, and I think you should probably, if you can spare the resources, do a sandbag Molotov. So right now this one would be considered like a deep or like take. So you've come out and now you've got a lot of control. So you've come out, you've got a lot of control of mid now, and now you can split onto A or B. Right, yeah, but you have to take a lot more joules when you're doing this. These 2 smokes, they're good because they give you like a bit of cover. But the problem is you can get spammed through them, or people can flash push through them. It's kind of almost like a false sense of security. So if I was you guys, I'd normally be going, unless you're going straight into a B split, I'd normally be going for the deep one with the 3 Molotovs, the vent, the pipe, and the sandbag. Or you can pick the 2 which you think are the most likely for your opponents. Anyway, that would be a deep version, and then once you have it, you're still in a mid-round position, right? You still have to have a decision of what you're going to do. These things are just great to take territory. Cache is a map that's all about territory, right? So you need to take the different parts of territory. So those are 2 things you could do from a default. You could do an A execute from a default, like pretty basic one. Like, do you remember? You guys would all remember, like the Sean Gares Cloud9, the veggie wrap or whatever it was. You know, they were doing like this smoke, and they were fucking like coming out in the smoke, and they were like attacking A. They were doing all that kind of shit. That's all very basic. You can do full set executes. Now you can do the set executes. The oldest of the set executes would probably be the Titan one. I think they had 1 smoke there. I think they had, if I remember rightly, it was like 1 here, which linked up with, I think it was like 1 here. They also had the quad smoke. So they had like 4 smokes on A. It was something like that. Very similar to that. And then they would execute on, they'd use their Molotovs. They'd push a guy through, I think it was Apex. He'd come through, come out here, and that's how they'd take the site. But there's so many variations of that execute, and there's so many different ways for you guys to throw these smokes. So I've seen Athletico, they've been, I think it was them anyway, they've been running like one where they're smoking off like this. They get mid control, then they smoke off like that, and then they execute onto the site through middle and A. That's another way to approach it. You can do like CyberZen, for example. I saw them do a cool strat. They did a smoke like this, right? Which meant that the quad guy kept facing. So what they did was they knew that he was going to be facing. They threw like a sick pop flash for him, and then that forced, and the entry fragger onto the site just came out and literally only had to worry about fence and then still like entry to the same way. I saw like Mouse Sports do like a variation, because a lot of people play this single box now and jump up. So they were starting to smoke here as well. I think they were doing like that and like that or something. That smoke probably could come more over. Like you could make this smoke like land more like here, and that would also impede this guy looking to squeaky. So like they were doing it execute like that, but it was still pretty like similar. So like A executes, the way that you apply these, A executes are like usually a set strategy that you have. So if you want to rock a set strategy, you need to think, am I going to do it at the start of the round? How much utility does the other team have? What setup do I think they're going to do? Are they going to do an aggressive 3 mid setup and have 1 at A? Then an execute's good. You can take it off them. Do we do this late round and like everybody has to hold on to their utility then? But if you're going to do the execute late round, you have to let your teammates know to hold on to their utility. All this kind of shit, right? So when you have set executes like that one, like these ones toward A, which there's millions, you can just YouTube them, guys. I'm not going to get too stuck into the details of them now, but it's just about, you know, making sure everybody knows their smokes. Maybe a couple of people need to learn a few like overlapping smokes, so that if people die, you can fill the gaps. So there's all those little things. A couple of cool little tricks. This is a one-way. I don't really see many other people using it. Might just be like, it's stupid because once you've done it once and you're playing against opponents who know you're doing it, they're just going to shoot you. But like, it's pretty cool to catch people off guard. So you throw an underarm nade, and you don't want the nade to land directly in the corner. For some reason, it doesn't work as good in the corner. What I do is like, I like bounce it so it comes like a little bit out, and then you come and you sit here, and it's as the smoke moves. So we all know the smokes move, right? It's a bit hard because I don't have like an enemy to look at, but trust me, you can fiddle with it yourself, and you can scope, and you can see a person moving around here, right? And you can just fuck the cunt up. But once they know, a lot of people know I do this one way, they just shoot me, and I'm dead. So that's just something to consider, little one-ways, little tricks like that. So yeah, we went over T default, we went over possible options for taking middle. Mid-round decision making is too complex. I can't really go into that like too deeply, or I'll be talking for fucking ever. Basic A execute, same thing with B. So I was harping on before about, you know this smoke, this isn't going to be perfect, this was never my job. You know how they do that smoke and they do this molly? Alright, well, that was pretty good actually. You know how we do this? This gets you a lot of control, right? Once you have that control, you can do so much. Like, you can, if they smoke here, like this, you're still going to probably feel confident enough to go through it, or use a pop flash to go through it, right? And that's the whole idea, is to deny the CTs from being able to play that single AWP setup. And that single AWP setup is so powerful. Having the AWP AWPing like this, or doing what Yam used to do, which was play like very aggressive like this with the AWP, it's very powerful. So if you guys can do that routine, and you can get your B default player to do that like round after round after round after round, you can start to do lots of sick plays, right? Like, you can sneak up behind the smoke, you can pop flash through it and take the site, catch them off guard. You can get checkers control with some set flashes, boost back up into the vent, take mid that way. You can do full B executes from behind the smokes, right? You can have that smoke up, they can't see you. So what you do is, while this smoke's up, you set up, we had a couple of set smokes, right? So like, that one would go there, and then I would come here, and I think it was like this, we'd throw this, and then someone would throw at the same time, would throw fucking, this is probably wrong guys, I apologize well and truly in advance, and we throw that, and what we'd do is, oh that's right, what we'd do is, we'd completely ignore checkers, we'd flash in through this smoke, we'd like maybe molly off checkers so no one can pick us, flash in, run into the site and take it, not have to worry about checkers. You tend to do that kind of thing. Hey, thank you Dolphin, thank you for the resub dude. We tend to do an execute like that on the low buy. So like full in, all in executes like that are good when you have tech 9s, or like when you know that the other team is probably low on utility and they can't really stop you. Okay, so like those are some ideas for executes. Just on the T side, guys, just for T side shit, this is where I'm going to open up to you guys. If you want to ask me a couple of questions, like maybe how to approach a situation, or if you feel like, I haven't really gone into too much straight away, like let me know, and I can kind of reiterate some points, or I can give up some new ones. So I'll just open up to questions just for a quick second. Go nuts. Nice awkward silence. I don't want to get stuck into another point because one just came to me, but I'll wait. I'll wait for you guys to ask any questions that you've got. Surprised I did that smoke first time.
Throwing smoke.
Yeah, good one. And I remember this one. It's been so long since I've had to do set smokes.
Laying down smoke.
How to take mid control different ways. I did two ways. I did a close. These are late. I did a late round. You can take it early. How do you do this? Well, that's not really a question for Keish. The best way to defend. Yeah, we're not on the CT side yet. We'll get to the CT side soon. Can you speak about important of AWP location angles? Do you recommend taking a number of players through Z and into CT? Yeah, you can do that, like into a B split neb. It's pretty effective if they're giving you mid control a lot. If teams are giving you mid control a lot, like, and letting you take it, doing the actual split through here to B is really effective, because they're in such like off angles in weird spots, and they're kind of not always covering all of the angles that you can get away with it sometimes. It's just a risk. Does very passive less utility? That's for CT side. How the So the more CT side, where would you put your dedicated lurker on T side? So dedicated lurkers, the idea of a dedicated lurker, I hate that. You should never have a dedicated lurker in my mind. Everybody should be able to do like entry fragging when needed, or be able to like lurk and shit. So if you do have a guy that you want to have clutching more, he should either be the B guy, like the B defaulter, or the squeaky defaulter, because they're in the best two positions to lurk once the decision's been made. But you should never like move the person based on the strategy you want to run. The squeaky guy needs to know how to lurk. The B main guy needs to know how to lurk. Everyone needs to know how to lurk. So like I think, but most likely either the B player or the squeaky player. Can you throw the smoke for blocking booster molly by T side? What are good things in mid control? My team usually stalls out. I mean, doesn't do anything. Yeah, so once you have mid control, you need to have like somebody to make the decisions. This is mid round. So once you've taken mid, you need to know what you're doing. So if you have mid and you're all watching your spots, then like an A split is really good. But you don't want to leave too many numbers in mid once you have it. If you're going to go to like a split on a site, you maybe want to only leave like 2 guys in mid. Or you can go into a fast B split. That's usually a good way through mid. But if you're gonna get mid, once you've done that, you already know. So the whole idea behind getting mid control is, okay, we now have mid, so we know that they're not fighting. We know that they're not facing connector. We know that they're not facing from highway. We know they don't have any mid information. So that's when you slowly start to constrict them, right? You slowly start to come in from a lot of different angles, checking all your spots, and slowly you just pinch them in. And that's the best way to do it. Best entry flashes. There's so many different ways to do flashing and shit. Like this is stuff like that kind of stuff you guys are asking is very, very detailed. So I'm giving you like a broad, basic understanding. Anyway, fuck it. All your questions are shit. Okay, so there's a fast way to take mid as well that used to like doing. We stole it from Flipside. I don't know who was doing it originally, but basically out of spawn you're doing set smokes and flashes. So you're smoking con. I fucked it. You're smoking con. You're smoking the highway box. You're also using a lot of flashes and boosting people up. So you have to put out the Molotov. So we used to be able to do the one which would land in here to put out the Molotov. You can't do that anymore. So you now have to smoke up here, put it out. So you're boosting numbers over mid, and you're having players who are flashing. So I was usually the entry guy. So I was like doing shit like this, like I was flashing like this, or like that was a bad flash, or flashing like this, and then like usually one, and then I was like, fuck, I suck balls, and then like pushing out. And you have people come over and you clear all the spots and you fight really quickly, because most teams don't usually play super Noskovic. I've already done the default suit. Most people don't really play like too many numbers on mid unless they're doing like a 3-stack. So the CT side on cache is much more interesting in my opinion. Anyway, so you do this this shit quite quickly. That's like the flip side mid take we used to call it. There's more details to it, but yeah. That's that. Alright. Fuck the T side. No more T side. Alright, so the CT side, the default hold is obviously 2B, 1 middle, and 2A. Now, the thing with CT side on cache is, for me personally, this is just my opinion, I think it's a gamble. I think you need to have a good CT in-game leader to make the right calls, you know, to play a 3B setup, or to play a heavy mid setup, or to do like a aggression, or to do like an A retake. You need to have somebody and you need to mix it up, because I think the pick potential in this map is fucking insane. I think it's just out of this world, like the amount of picks that you can potentially go for on this map. So you need to have a lot of diversity. So for the B setup, this is how it should run in my mind. If you're going to play 2 towards B, you need to maintain checkers control. This is just me. You don't have to. You can do like Cloud9 do, where they put Skrill in the back of the site and shit. This is just my opinion. You can approach this so many different ways. This map is so open to interpretation. So like you do the B main smoke to delay them, you get a player down into the checkers, and then you get another player either like ready to flash and shit for them, or maybe up a bit closer ready with them, and you can test and you hold this area and you fight for checkers. You want to keep checkers. Problem is, you just have to keep in mind that you've only got one player mid, so your vent is vulnerable, right? So this is one way of doing it. You know, there's that setup. There's playing like a guy at the back box with an AWP. You know, if you can get an AWP and they're not doing the B main smoke, get an AWP aggressive, get an AWP in checkers. I really like the aggressive AWP at B, or at least AWPing the line, because he can stay by himself. But if you are playing 2 there, then you rarely want to have 2 in the site, very rarely. So a player checkers is always good, and then a player like in the side or something ready to help, ready to flash and be like assisting. Okay, so like, okay, this guy's ready to throw like a pop flash for his teammate.
Flashbang.
Cool, so now his teammate can pick, or like if they're rushing his teammate, he can throw a Molotov, he can split up the attack. Lots of things the side guy can do, and he will also probably be the rotator. So the mid player's job is in this setup, in the 2-1-2, his job is literally just for information. So he comes, he smokes the middle, let's see if I can get this. He Molotovs the boost, please work. Kinda worked, not really good enough. You want it so it like goes over the back so they can't sit on it. The one I did right there is really bad. So like, maybe it's the higher thing, maybe I'm just, or maybe I let go too soon.
Throwing fire.
There we go, that's the one you want. And you molly off all of mid. So you smoke, you molly, and then your job is just to either get to coil, and you're just playing for information, or play sandbag. Problem with sandbag is you can get Molotovs. Playing the coil and here is good. What I recommend doing, Apex does this really well. He just sits here, he jumps for information, he gets flash for his teammates, he can go for duels like that. But in mid, you really don't want to go for the fights. In mid, you're isolated, you're on your own, there's too many angles to check, it's a really shitty spot. The guy in mid is literally just playing for information. If you have an AWP, I think playing connector and just picking there, like when the smoke's up, you can just watch the boost. Once the smoke's gone, just watch this, let your teammates know that they can come out mid, creep highway. It's really hard mid. It's one of the shittest spots in my opinion. Alright, A. A is pretty standard. You know, you play the two guys, you usually get one guy to smoke the A main. You can do so many different crossfires. Guy forklift, guy cat, you know, you do get a quad or fence. You can AWP a lot of good places at A. Quad's really good. Fence is really good, but you can isolate him very easily with Molotovs and utility. I like this line quite well, actually. This boost, obviously super effective. Play on the light, super effective. You can play retake setups today, but the default one would be playing two players on the side. I really like this box, where the guy can jump up and help. Forklift, you can get Molotoved out pretty easily. That sucks a bit. I think other things you need to remember as well, like for the A side, is you want to get like a lot of pop flashes going. Like you want to know how to throw some really good A main pop flashes. If you watch some demos and stuff, you pick them up pretty easily. It's easy shit to do, but I think being able to retake A main control is important. Okay, so right now I've just done a 2-1-2 setup. Very basic, nothing that you really have to sit to or any like you have to stick to. It's quite loose, but you want to make sure your teammates know what you're doing. So if you're doing a 2-1-2 setup and they take middle, right? If they take middle and you don't, and you haven't got checkers control like I was talking about, what I would recommend doing is taking A main control. So this player who was just here, who was the mid guy, oh fuck guys, I can't hold mid. He's now going to drop back. He's going to come towards A. He's going to set up a pop flash. I don't know one, but he's going to set up a pop flash. That was terrible. For his teammates, that's a really bad spot. Anyway, he's going to set up a pop flash for his other two A teammates to take A main control. They're going to push in. They're going to take A main control. Now you've got A main control. Now you've got a piece of territory back. So who gives a fuck that the T's at mid? Because now your A is on lockdown. You've basically got this controlled. You can just get a guy now spotting mid. It's really shitty for the T's to take these duels and stuff. And they now have to make a decision. So for me, Cache is a map of territory, right? It's a very important map for territory. And once you take one piece, once they take one piece as T's, you need to take another one back, right? So this was just a 2-1-2. So now another setup is the one that I like doing was 2 at A, 2 mid, and 1 B, because we used to have Yam solo AWPing B. Whenever I play a teammate on A, I don't know how to support each other. Can you show us some good combo positions for a player on the site? For example, if you have one quad with an ult, where should I be with a rifle? So if he's playing quad, the thing that you have to kind of think about is like if he gets Molotoved out, how can you help him? So forklift is another spot where you can get isolated and he can't really help you. A spot that I like is like this box here, right? So it seems pretty boring. Doesn't seem like you're doing a lot. But when the execute comes in, you can jump up and help your AWPer, and they're all glued on him. You can also do like a lot of cool flashes. I don't know exactly where Pyth was sitting, or Pit, whatever his name is. He was sitting here and he was throwing like a flash like this as they were executing out. I thought that was pretty good. You're able to jump out, fight Squeaky and A main. I really like that spot. You can like play close to your teammate. I see like a lot of people do this one. And then like step to help him out. Or you just make sure that your utility, you have enough to help him get away from that spot. So, yeah, but your AWPer is kind of acting as like the beacon. He's going to get a kill, or he's going to get Molotoved out of position. Then that's, while they're going for him, that's your point to jump up and frag a cunt. So that's very important there. So when we were in Renegades, we started doing a thing towards the end of me playing. It was a 2-2-1. So it was 2A, 2 mid, and Yam was solo B usually. So what we were doing was me and Justin would combo this. The first one would come and smoke, and then he would jump out to here, and he would watch like this. The other one would come, throw that Molotov. Please work. and then we would hold mid together, right? We would play mid together. We'd sometimes play aggressive. We'd do whatever. But the really important thing was for teams that want to do that flip side mid control on the T side that I was telling you guys about. You know, they run, they throw this shit, they throw lots of flashes, and they basically brute force their way into mid, right? What we were doing was, as that was happening, if that happened at the start of the round and we thought it was going to be mid, we'd get Aaron and Ustilo, who are still running to A at this point, to come and just throw heaps of flashes. So me and Justin are sitting there, and then we have 4 of us and we fight mid. It was really good because if a team wants to play a super aggressive mid, you can shut them down with 4, right, and just fuck them up. Like, you will trade out in your advantage like 90% of the time. Even if they do the perfect smokes and flashes, even if they smoke here and they smoke here, if you have your A players supporting you with flashes and then coming into frag, they get completely overwhelmed and you've pretty much won the round from that point. Worst case scenario, your A players come and help and no one's mid. What does that mean? They're probably either like going slow now or they've already in A. Great thing, you're in a 5v5 still because no one's died and now you can 5-man retake A. So this is something which I think you guys should maybe think about. If you are suffering, if a team is doing a lot of quick mid control, consider like doing that where it's very information based. So you cheat over depending on that information that you're going to get, right? Something to think about. But normally when you do the 2-1-2, like you can get a player boosted up here, you can get another player like playing on this thing. I think that's like a really good crossfire because like this guy here can just sit up on the box and just baiting from time to time, or he can just sit like anywhere basically, baiting for the boost player. Then once the boost player gets in a battle, he picks out as well, and you guys just fucking frag. 2 mid, there's lots of action you can do. You can play in the vent, and this guy here leans towards B, and you play like another guy around the white box or coil box or whatever you want to call it, and baiting, and then you can just keep mid re-smoked, that kind of shit. You can also do that with 3, so you do a 1-3-1, so you let an A player do whatever he wants, normally a strong fragger, a B player do whatever he wants, so they don't have to hold territory in this regard, right? If you're doing a 1-3-1, this guy doesn't have to be fighting, he can just sit in the site. You know, he still has to use his smokes and utility to delay, he still has to communicate very well. Same with this, you can play retake from the truck if you really want, because the emphasis is on mid. So when you're playing close mid, the idea is you have fast rotations to either side. So that's just when you play 3-1-3. And you can keep mid smoked for like 60 seconds, right? You have Molotovs, you have all that kind of shit. So CT is all about gambling in my mind. So, and it's almost like a game of chess, and like, can you be moves ahead? Can you make the right call to stack? Can also go for lots of aggression on this map. Orpers can get good spawns, can come here and pick a guy very easily. Orpers can pick here very quickly, it's very good for that. You can come up with ways as a team to take a main. You know, you can come up with a lot of aggressive moves. I saw Liquid this is a while ago, but they were doing like an aggressive B play where once they got checkers control, I hope this is it. That seems a bit high, but whatever. They were coming in now throwing a similar smoke to that. They were getting sunroom control. You know, they were holding sunroom. There's so many different ways on the CT side based on what the other team is doing of how you can approach it and how you can fucking go aggressive. So, I think of you like an uncle who raped someone, served his time, and then mentored me. That's really weird. So you talk about how you trade for territory. For example, T's take the position, you need to take another for info. What are some positions that are easy to take? Okay, so if the T's take middle, then you should take a main, I think. If the T's take like checkers, right, then you should play retake, and then you should maybe like, you should have full mid control so you can just pinch them in like later in time, right? But normally for me, the go-to is if they take mid or if they take checkers, take a main. Like it's just a go-to. Where do you feel the best spots are to hold if the T side Molotov the fuck out of B side through sunroom and there's nowhere in the side that could be stored on? If they do it properly, you're fucked. There's nothing you can do if you're in the site. Like if they molly here, if they literally carpet bomb the whole site and you can't stand anywhere, then there's not a lot you can do. Maybe like if they don't molly this, you can jump up on single. But even then, as you can see, I'm still copying flames. If you can't and you don't have a smoke left, you can't put it out, you're fucked. Like there's nothing you can do. But if they do like 2 Molotovs, then you have to just consider your positions. But your question changes depending on the execute, because not all teams execute the same way. If you see the Molotovs coming, you have time to get away, that's good. How do you deal with Ts who are playing very passive and the territory they do take, they still have people stationed at B, mid, etc.? Okay, so if they're taking mid with a few numbers, right, you're not taking A main off them, or you're not holding checkers with just one guy. You're going into the situation where it's probably going to be a 2v2 or 2v1 in your favor at best, right? And that's how you have to play it. And it also catches people off guard. So even if they have a guy holding A main, I'm not saying just walk into a main and go, oh, I want this now. You have to have a setup to do it, right? So like you could throw like a really I don't think I can do it, but you can throw like a really good Molotov to get that box, right? And then you could have a really good pop flash. So then you can come out. You know that box is clear because you've just mollied the cunt. You've come out, you've cleared it, and now you've smoked a main. Like you need to have a setup for how you're gonna do it. It's not just about like just. I understand what you're saying. They're still going to have... Most people will always have that shit. But you can overwhelm one guy with a proper pop flash and then use of smokes. So it's about how you use your utility. Show the best way to take it as CT. Okay, well the best way as CT is pretty easy. You want to throw the smoke like this that covers off. And always a deep nade is pretty good as well because it forces back. You don't... At that point, you don't need a flash or anything because they can't kill you, right? But I'd also recommend as you're coming, you shoot through here. You guys can work up the lineup. So obviously I did it wrong. It's a little bit over. You shoot out the vent from back here. So the audio cue is early, so you're not giving it away. And then you two players can drop into checkers once the smoke pops and then boost up. And then you want to boost the player normally who used the smoke, so this guy can re-smoke and get away. What else we got? Alright, so that's very basic, guys. I don't think I went into anywhere near as much detail as worth than the other ones, but I didn't actually prepare for this one. The other ones I prepared a little bit and went over it. So if you guys have any questions now about anything, I'll try and answer some of them. Send them in and we'll see how we go. See if I can answer them in time, and then I'll get someone to turn them into a fucking clip for me and get it to upload to my Dancing Panda. If he's here, he'll help me out. He's a sick cunt. My average FPS, I think it normally sits around like 200, dude. It's not fantastic, but it's not horrible. Your thoughts on mid boost? I think it's a very good aggressive move, Air Avab. So the mid boost, obviously, if you guys don't know what he's talking about, you smoke the T connector and you boost the player up here. So you don't have to go super aggressive because lots of people watch it. You can just leave a guy up here and push late round. But I think this is that's an aggressive move as an example. What else is an aggressive move? An aggressive move is also the smoke that I showed you guys before. This one here, aggressive move to get sunroom control. Squeaky with the AWP, aggressive move, pushing here. What Yam used to do, which was cool, guys, was he would throw a bad connector smoke. He would throw one that like landed like over there or some shit, right? Deeper. And then he would come and he'd pick the line, and they wouldn't expect it. That was a pretty cool aggressive move. AWPs on this map have a lot of freedom to be very aggressive. Here we go. How do you regain mid control if your Z player has died on CT and you play on B site? Okay, so you're the rotator. Okay, so if you were soloing mid and this guy's died and you guys want to retake mid, this is great. You guys can retake mid. This is a very good question that you've asked. So you've left one guy B and you're doing a 2-1-2 setup. Mid player's died. You've rotated one guy from B towards mid and you've rotated one guy from A towards mid and you want to retake it. Good question. So here's a really good flash that I learned from Forest. It's a middle throw. You come here. And normally, if they've taken mid or they've normally smoked this, right? So if they've done that and early, you can obviously boost over with the AWP and pick them and shit. But if you want to like retake the mid control, what I would recommend doing is coming here. I'm crouching. I'm middle throwing. I'm like, so see this black line? I'm aiming here on the black line, and I'm middle throwing. And that flash goes off. It catches them off guard. You jump out and you fight. So you can also get your highway player to throw like a high flash as well. So what you want to do is you want to say who's going to do what. So this flash here is in the smoke or connector will blind anybody. So you want to get out and push towards sandbag side, fight the boost and the pipe. Your guy coming from highway, he's going to throw a flash and you guys want to be fighting the vent. So if he can come and he can throw like a Molotov towards the vent, he's now forced that guy, right? If he's now forced that guy back a bit. So he knows the line that he has to fight is like this. So then you fought this and this guy's jumped out and he's fought this. And then once you've done that, if you have utility left, then you can smoke warehouse, right? And then you've regained mid control. How do you drop your smoke like on the floor right next to you? Good question. Did you have time-based aggression? No, it was normally like reaction on what was happening and shit. I want to show you guys something interesting. So if you guys like have a team and you want to try something cool, you want to try like an eco mid push or even a gun push. You know how like the guy sitting up here, he's always really hard to flash? I got a cool little thing for you to try. You can play with it yourself. You can see what works best for you. But if you want to throw a flash, right? See if I can get this to work. you won't get to see it because like we don't have two people, but you want to throw a flash so it. I'm retarded. I should really play this game more. You want to throw a flash so it lands. There you go. You want it to land on this roof, right? And it flashes everything in here. So it's really good. You can do it on either window. I prefer doing this one because I think people normally hold further back lines. But you want the flash to basically go off, right? You want the flash to go off on that window. And that's not far enough. Further enough? Further. It's the flash needs to go further, cunts. All right. So that's bad. That's a bad example by me.
Flashbang.
There you go. You want it to land on that window, it'll flash him in there. It's really good. You can try that with like a, if you want to come and have someone like one of you smokes here, and you get a couple guys get up close with a pistol, you do that flash, you go in, and you just like dodge.
Deploying flashbang.
Close enough. You guys will get the point. Crosshair placement. Crosshair placement is just about practice, dude. I've also got some other cool stuff that I was playing with in my mind. Like, if you guys want to play this, like how Shoxy used to play it, this was ages ago. He used to get someone else to smoke for him and molly for him. So he'd hold on to his utility, and then he'd play here. So he'd get the A guys to flash for him, so he could repick the boost, and he'd hold on to his smoke. So if he got mollied out, he could put it out. So like he would have teammates. He'd usually have MBK, I think it was, flashing for him in mid, so he could repick. I thought it was a really good way to do it. It's very individual, but it, you know, playing mid sometimes you need it. I thought of a cool way. They changed the map not long after I was doing this, so I got to work out a new way to do it. But basically, the idea was if I wanted to pick the guy on the boost, I was going to throw like a flash like this. No, not like that.
Throwing flashbang.
There you go. And get it to land up on here, which would fuck the cunt on the boost, and he probably wouldn't even like really, like he'd be like, what the fuck? And like you could probably flash that guy quite well. I hadn't really practiced it a lot, but it's something to consider. If one of the T's is play and solo 1v2 playing A, and so they still have mid control, is it worth pushing to gain territory not knowing what's happening with B? If one of the T's gets a nutty play and solo 1v2 playing A, what the fuck? That doesn't make sense. What's the best way to warm up before games? I was going to go into warming up afterwards. There's also, like, you guys would have seen it on Reddit, but there's like a flash you can do from out here. I don't know how he did it. Maybe there's a skybox there. Yeah. So like he was flashing checkers from here and then coming through the vent. How do I know how to play Invayo to... How do I know how to play aggressive or passive on CT or T? It's up to your in-game leader to dictate the pace, dude. Also instincts based on your positioning. Me and my friends are going to land next week with €1,000. First place, we're a good individual skill, but not good as a team. Probably the best thing, dude, I went over this early. Go over all the maps and just communicate about all the places that you want to call, like, want to call sandbags. So everyone knows it's called sandbags. So everybody calls things the same. Just fixing your communication is probably a really good way early. All right, that's about it. That was cool. We're done. Thanks for playing.